everyone. Welcome back to Talking Blondes. I am your co-host, Virginia, coming to you from North Idaho, and I'm here with my lovely co-host.
And I am Caitlin, the other 50% of the Talking Blondes, coming to you from Ohio, OH.
OH, the other fabulous 50% that I'm so grateful for on our podcast. But yes, everyone, welcome back. And depending on where you're at in the world, maybe you are experiencing spring weather where the sun is out, you can feel the warmth in the air, flowers are blooming. It just brings this whole other energy where people want to actually get out in the outdoors and start living a little and reconnect. And so it's such a good feeling. But there's some people that may not be experiencing that. This could actually be a much harder season because of their mental health. And so we are in the month of May, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And that is what Caitlin and I will be talking about today. I was thinking about our intentions with this podcast episode, and it is wonderful to know that there is so much mental health content out there by actual licensed professionals. I mean, that is huge for us to have that information be available to us. So Caitlin and we were like, okay, well, let's leave it to the experts. However, we are our own experts because we live it. So that is what I thought today's episode would be more about. Is Caitlin and I will openly talk about our experiences navigating mental health and being on our own journeys. So, how does that
Absolutely. I am thinking it sounds great. I remember, I don't know, just being even in college, and I just remember I was a psych major for 2.5 years. Shout out to our one of our VIP listeners, Sarah. She already knows this about me. We were messaging the other day. We were getting all nerdy, talking psych and mental health things. But anyways, I just remember being in the one of our psychology buildings, and there's all these flyers about May being Mental Health Month and this and that, and I don't know, I'm here for diving into all of this, not just in May. And to your point, Virginia, just because it's May, I mean, there's people having the times of their life now that the sun's out and it's not 20, 30 degrees outside anymore. But there's also people who are feeling the feels, and that's okay. We know that mental health does not care about the season. It does not care about a holiday. It does not care about maybe things like a promotion or any big life event going on that would otherwise make you feel wonderful and elated. Mental health shows up whenever it feels like it, and you just get to sit and hang out with all the horrible consequences. So, regardless, I'm happy we're doing this in honor of May being Mental Health Month. So, I'm excited and
sound?
ready to dive in with you, girl.
Yay! So, in true Talking Blondes fashion, I am going to kick off this episode with reciting song lyrics. I'm going to do my best to make it sound more poetic. When I first heard this song and these particular lyrics, I instantly had such a strong emotional reaction towards it, and I continue to do so anytime I listen to it. So I hope you all enjoy if this is your first time hearing these lyrics too. Though this season of her life had been cold, lonely, and tough, though she slipped back into a darkness she had hoped by now to have overcome, she had learned a beautiful lesson, and she kissed her girls goodbye and thanked them for getting her out of the house, that maybe everything was going to be all right. And even if only for a moment, everything is going to be all right. Then she put her headphones in, and there she danced under the weight of her clouds. But for the first time in a long time, she believed that one day she would again feel the sun. She must be patient. She must have faith in the seeds that are planted beneath the snow. She must hold on, and she must let go. She'll be all right. No riding, shining, armored knight. She will save herself this time. And in fact, tonight, she did confirm, the cold never lasts, my darling. It just teaches the heart how to burn.
Wow. Oh my
With me
gosh.
every time.
Oh my gosh. I've got goosebumps over here. What song is that?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening, this is a song called Click Clack Symphony by the artist Ray, featuring Hans Zimmer,
Ooh.
and it is a remarkable, remarkable song.
Wow. I need to go add this to my little Spotify playlist after we hop off our recording. Wow. That is beautiful, Virginia.
So beautiful.
Oh my gosh. When did you first hear that song? Were you going through something in the moment? I'm thinking perhaps.
I actually wasn't. Um,
Really?
it was a few weeks ago, and what really captivated me to look into this song, well, Ray is this independent artist who's been around actually for quite a while, but she's had some breakout songs this past year. One of them is "Where Is My Husband?" I don't know if you've heard that
Oh yeah, I know
one. It's
that
like,
one. That
"Where's
yeah.
my husband?"
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
More like poppy. Yeah, okay.
obviously jazzy, like
Yes.
retro and really great song. Well,
Yeah.
I believe it was like my algorithm on YouTube. I got a clip of her music video for Click Clack Symphony, and it
Okay.
was just so cool. And I was like, oh, I want to look into this more. Well, then it's the whole song itself and it is an experience, but she says all that at the end of the song, and
Wow.
it just stops me in my tracks every single time.
Oh, music is so therapeutic in so many ways, but especially when I don't know, words can do a lot, but I
Hmm.
think there's something about hearing something with a melody, or even just hearing a melody on its own, even. There can
Yes.
be something to it that just gets to you so much more, and it puts everything you've been feeling and thinking into even a chord. It's wild, but wow, that is beautiful. So beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. And I wanted to ask you, Caitlin, how do you think that song is mental health related?
Oh my gosh. I mean, you talk about seeds that being planted beneath what the frozen ground, the snow. You talk about she's putting her headphones on under this cloud. She's trying to overcome so much. You talk about her not needing a prince to rescue her, and that she herself will do it. There's so many levels to it. I
Yeah.
see someone who is overcoming a darkness. I'm not sure what kind.
Hmm.
Maybe they've already overcome it, or they're still overcoming it. I'm not quite sure, but I think there's someone who is trying to celebrate the good that can still come from a season that feels like anything but good. And I think anybody who's been in an awful mental health state can relate to that feeling of it feels like it's never going to be good again. And so what I'm hearing is a lot of hope. I'm hearing someone who fought like hell, and someone who is still fighting, and is not going to give up on themselves.
Beautiful. And
Personally,
that is mental health.
yeah.
That is mental health. It is a fight. It is work. Um, and it is showing up day in and day out when you don't want to. And sometimes when we maybe are first going into addressing our mental health, sometimes it's normal to be like, okay, if I just like address this one problem, everything will be fixed and everything will be solved. And little do we realize, actually, it's a much longer process than that. It is a journey, and it's piece by piece. Um,
Mhm.
so I was one of those people who definitely starting out on my mental health journey, I had no intentions of going on a journey. Um, I wanted the quick fixes. I wanted to get back to my quote unquote normal life because that is what was familiar and comfortable, even though false sense of security and comfort, it's all I ever knew. So I just wanted to get back to that. Well, what I didn't realize that the whole point was to not get back to that, but to rebuild. And
Yeah.
that is what your mental health journey can be all about. But that song, I mean, it's crazy how songs can be like a time machine. And so I can think about the music 10 years ago. I'm 35, so 25, 10 years ago when I really started my mental health journey, the songs that were impactful, then. So it's just kind of cool that music can also do that too, just send you right back as a memory.
Oh yeah. I know for me, I'm definitely a closeted emo kid in so many ways. Like I am just, I mean, I love me a good happy song, don't get me wrong. And I love so many genres of music, but honestly for me, there is this big part of me that I will only listen to it if I can connect with it. Like
Mm,
in the moment, there's just this very deep part inside of me. And I started doing this thing in 2020 where I would create a new album each year and I would just name it by the year. So 2020, 2021, 2022, and so on. And I would only put songs in that either A, I'd heard that year and they
mhm.
resonated with me, or B, it was a song that I really connected with based on something that I was feeling.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to your point when you talk about 10 years ago and there's all these different songs that hit with you and you were starting your own journey and everything. It's kind of cool for me because just the other day I was like, let's see what some of my old playlists have on here. And I was in 2023, and I'd gone through like I had moved, there were a number of things. And I'm listening to these songs, I'm like, this is a really sad song. I'm like, oh yeah, I know why. Like just a number of things. And it's almost like I don't know, some kind of a scrapbook in time type of
Hmm.
thing for your ears.
A scrapbook. Yeah. Yeah.
of,
Very
of,
well.
of the mental journey highs and lows, that the mental health
Yeah.
highs and lows for sure.
Yeah. Oh, isn't that great that we have something like art to be able to
Absolutely.
get us through some of our hardest times, our happiest times. Like,
Yes.
that's pretty amazing. But yeah, so I mentioned 10 years ago, I feel like that's when I personally really started my mental health journey. I, at that point, was completely in the dark with it. I
Mhm.
had no idea what was really going on.
Yeah.
And I'm putting emphasis on that because when people are first going through mental health, and usually it's when it's disrupting your life, that's when you really start paying attention to it. The
Yep.
signs maybe could have already been there, but you start really paying attention to, you're like, I can't even get out of bed. I can't drive. I can't do basic things anymore. Everything feels weird. My skin is crawling. That person, like all these like
Yeah.
extremes, right? Because it just got to that point where you feel like you can't even function on your own anymore. Um, I feel like that's what was going on with me at 25. I felt like my entire life was just unraveling, and I had no idea what was going on. I was more fixated on external fixes. So I was convinced that I just had this like rare, I don't know, chronic pain that nobody could figure out. Um, but, after seeing one specialist after another, and usually when people have this pattern of telling you, like, you might want to look into your anxiety and your stress, you're like,
Mm.
there's no way that anxiety and stress can cause this. There's no way. And so I was completely like so disconnected from my own body. I wasn't even tuned at all. If anything, I wanted so desperately out of my body because I could not take the sensations of it. It just felt so abnormal to me and weird and painful. And I was like, no, like this needs to be looked into. And I was just so convinced that I had this, rare medical, condition. And not to say that I couldn't have, but I think the majority of the healthcare professionals I was seeking, help and advice from, if every one of them was steering me in the direction of mental health, maybe that was a sign. But so I was very resistant to that at first because I was just like, I don't have mental health issues. Like, that's not me. I just need to get back to normal. That was like, I kept saying that. Like, I just need to get back to normal. I need to get back to working my job. I need to get back to like these, normal everyday, things and activities. That's all I want. That's all I want. Even though I complained about it so much before, I promise I will never complain about it again. And then you beg, and then you, plead, to God, saying, I won't talk to that boy if you just let me, get back to feeling like myself again. I promise, I won't do that. So it's just so interesting. The bargaining even that was going on was wild. But I finally, I think, broke down and booked a session with a psychiatrist. And that's how that all started. But it's really interesting because it's not like I haven't had to manage my mental health ever since then. It's not a one and done thing. Sorry, guys. It's not. However, I think what stands out to me the most, though, is when you are going through it for the very first time. And Caitlin, I wanted to ask you if you could recall a time in your young adult life that you felt like you were just going through, you were in the trenches with your mental health. Can you recall a time, or maybe even when you were earlier than that?
I
Wanted to
can,
hear your
yeah,
story.
I can recall several times. And I'll be totally transparent. My first time seeing a psychologist, I was actually a child.
Yeah.
So I had no clue. I just thought, oh, I'm talking to this very nice man, and he gives me, stuff to draw with and this and that. And it's not, it wasn't, I'll just be, again, transparent. My parents were getting divorced, and I don't remember much from that, but I know that like there were a lot of probably underlying things that I was, just kind of taking in during at the time, and I was acting out a little bit in school. I don't recall any of this. I didn't do anything terrible, but just disrupting the class, or like, not wanting to listen, or whatever. According to my mom, I was an angel, so I don't know, guys, but I say all that because, Virginia and I are very big on inner child healing, and I have a big thing with abandonment. And I think a lot of that kind of stems from 3 or 4 year old me, kind of obviously needing to talk to someone about it even then and not even really knowing what it was or, what psychology was or who this person really is, except for that he's very friendly and I see him once a week and, he's nice to my mom and I get candy and, whatever. But yeah, as far as seeing a therapist and feeling like I was in the trenches, so after that period of life, I the next time I saw a therapist, I believe I was in my early 20s. And I was going through just this depression that I am having a hard time even now explaining. Even back then, I had a hard time explaining. And it kind of seemed to come out of nowhere. I will say, maybe not totally out of nowhere. I had this is going to sound like, oh, poor me, oh, and I promise I hear how like first world problem it is, so I'm just putting that out there, like don't all come at me. I had this amazing semester where I was over in Northern Ireland and I loved it. It was my junior year of college, and I came back and I just was like, well, what now? Like, it was like the high of my life. And then I came back and I just was like, I don't even know what now. Like, I'm so bored. I miss all my old friends that I made. Nothing feels the same being back at my old university. And so, not that that caused my depression, but I think it definitely was like not helping it either. And it might have kickstarted some stuff. So I was about maybe 21 or 22, and I wound up going to see a therapist on campus. And I'll never forget, she called me the wrong name. like, like our third session seeing each other. So it's not like she doesn't know who I am. And so I say this only because I'm a firm believer, and I know that it's not, this is not rocket science, like, duh, Sherlock. This is something that we should all know, but I'm just going to get it out there. Not all therapists are created equal, okay? They're only human just like we are. And just like it takes time to maybe find the right pair of jeans or the right, I don't know, car, anything, something that suits just you, the right partner, for example, you're also going to probably want to do that when it comes to a therapist. Obviously, you don't want to just shop around and hop, hop, hop. But at the same time, if you just don't get a good vibe from somebody, maybe they call you the wrong name, or they don't quite remember something important that you've been talking to them about, like you might don't don't hate, what is it? Don't hate the game, hate the player. Don't hate therapy. Maybe just move on from that therapist, kind of thing. But yes, I know I've gone kind of a whole roundabout way in answering your question. That was probably the first time in my life when I felt like, wow, I've never quite felt this before. What is this? And my mom said to me, depression runs in our family. From what you've been talking to me about, it sounds like you're experiencing it. And she, said, I'm proud of you for talking to me about it. There's things we can do. I think it would be beneficial for you to talk to somebody, things like that. Um, and, I wound up finding a different therapist after that one. But I wound up going to a therapy for, I don't know, maybe several months or something during that period of time. And then, later on in life, maybe 4 or 5 years later, I went because I was going through another big change. This was right before moving out to Boston. I'd had a bad breakup. I'd had unfortunately, the death of a family member that I was very close to, unexpected, right after Christmas. And I was not employed. So it was just a number of things. And I just needed to kind of figure out what am I doing, kind of thing. And also I was grieving, and it was a heavy time. So those are some big times that stick out for me as far as being kind of in the trenches. And I will say, during that period of my life, I did know, I didn't necessarily need to talk to my mom about it. I knew, like, I I need that. I need to go find somebody to do some mental health work with me. And it was very beneficial. It's I don't know. It's hard to admit that you need help. I think a lot of us struggle with that. And to your point, Virginia, same with me. Like, I didn't want to go until it was seemingly affecting every part of my life. It's almost like you have a tiny little leak in a pipe, and you're like, oh, it's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine. And then it leaks a little bit more. Oh, we'll just get a little bowl. We'll put it under it. It'll catch it. And then who knows how long? Next thing you know, the pipe's bursting, and you're like, well, can't quite ignore that now. And
Yep.
you have to do something.
Yes.
If only it could be that, cutesy in the moment. It doesn't feel that cutesy, but
No, it's
but
not.
yeah, it's I've been to therapy several times in life, and I'm a big advocate for it. I Friends of mine who are listening are probably going to roll their eyes because I say this to them all the time. I think that one, you should never be ashamed if someone recommends therapy to you because I'm like, yeah, like I just see it as like a flex, like a weird flex. I don't know why. I'm just like, yeah, you go, girl. Like, you go see that therapist. I don't know. I'm weird. But I'm like, I think we need to like make that a thing. And then the other thing I was gonna say is I think that similar to an annual checkup you'd have with your PCP, I think I would love if everybody had an annual checkup with a therapist each year.
That would be amazing.
Even twice a year. What? Ooh,
What?
did I just say that? I did. I don't know. I just think I'm very proud of where we are in society now.
Hmm.
It's never been as easy to talk about mental health as it is right now in this moment, and I'm hoping and praying it only gets easier. And we all get more informed as we go along. But at the same time, we're still not there. Like, we still need to make it more of a focus, as you would, going to the dentist or going to, your general doctor or whatever. Like, it. Hmm, hmm.
Yes. I was I've heard of this whether it's like a slogan or whatever, but it's a billboard actually out here where I live. And it says there is no health without mental health.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, you've got to be able to function, in all the ways. You've got to be able to. I mean, it kind of goes back to our self love episode from
That.
recently. It's like you've got to be able to take care of you,
Hmm.
and it's okay if you don't know how. That's what the therapists are there for. There's no
Yes.
shame in not knowing how.
Yes. I'm
So.
glad you mentioned that. And also too, you know, pursuing any kind of professional help in the mental health field. Um, maybe at first it's just getting you back to a baseline
Yeah.
before you start tackling everything else, right? So I think that's kind of where I was when I started first working with a psychiatrist. I felt like I just needed to get back to a healthy baseline.
Hmm.
Um, for the most part, psychiatrists, they're more known for prescribing medications and doing like maybe brief wellness check-ins with their patients, but they're not really known for cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. I kind of lucked out. I found a psychiatrist who could do both. The thing, though, as I mentioned earlier, I was not interested in unpacking all the things that made Virginia, Virginia. I just wanted the drugs and to move on with my life. Okay. So, with that being said, yes, I was one of those patients who wanted to do the bare minimum and do, not a whole lot of work, inner work. And so, if you're hearing this and you kind of, can relate, in order to uh, for therapy to be effective and beneficial, most of the time has everything to do with you and what you do outside of that session and how you prepare for those sessions. So it's not really your therapist. It's 100% you. You are being supported, you are being guided by a mental health professional, but it is entirely up to you to do the work. You may not be in a season of your life where you want to do that or commit to it. That's okay. I wasn't in a season of my life then, so totally understand. However, I couldn't necessarily, though, blame, even though I did, that you can't really blame. You kind of have to own your shit. That's a big part, actually, of mental health and your well-being is taking personal responsibility. And that can be sometimes a hard pill to swallow because you might go in at first thinking it's everybody else and it's all these things, but this is actually a process to learn about you, to learn about Virginia, to learn about Caitlin. So it's a very unique opportunity to work on yourself in that way. It is an absolute privilege also as well. But yeah, I look back at it and I'm sure the psychiatrist could sense that I was just not taking this seriously. I was not showing up to sessions and I was getting behind in my payments. So I got discharged, and that is a real thing, by the way. Your therapist can discharge you.
Wow.
So that I felt like, oh, I'm so broken. Even the psychiatrist discharged me instead of, well, Virginia, maybe if you were a bit more responsible with these sessions, and they're not free candy. This is a legit business. But at that time, being still what I consider young and dumb and inexperienced and immature and had more of a victim mindset, it was so much easier to play the narrative like, oh, poor me, and I've been cast out to the side. And now I look back at my 25-year self like, I just want to slap you. Like, girl. So I got discharged and I had to find a new psychiatrist who would at least continue with the medication. So if you are on medication, it is super important to stay on it and not go through what can be very real critical withdrawals. So that was no joke, and at least I understood the severity of that. So I got with another psychiatrist. They did not do cognitive therapy, so I found a therapist for that. So that's also normal too in mental health, is you might have a few specialists, one for medications, one for talk therapy. That's actually quite common. And it was with that therapist that I actually came up with the plan of moving out of my home state, which is what Caitlin and I were talking about in an earlier episode, more recent episode.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, a couple things are coming to mind for me. So first off, you've seen Brene Brown's vulnerability TED Talk, right?
Oh, yeah.
You are so Brene Brown
Oh.
no, no, yes, that's a good thing, but
To me, Brene Brown, I'm like, oh,
she's
did you just
amazing.
put me in the same sentence as Brene Brown?
She's amazing. She's
So
amazing.
amazing.
No, but I'm literally thinking of when she first started her journey, and
Yes.
she was like sitting down with a therapist, and the therapist is like, so how does that make you feel? And she's like, that's cute. No, we're not doing that. Let's just like, what's the fix here? Like, okay, I feel this way. Like, now what? Like that is
Yes.
so 25-year-old Virginia, where she was
Yes.
like, I don't really care about your fluffy feely magical good things,
Yes.
whatever healing we want to do, that's cute, but what can we actually do so we can
Mhm.
get in and get out,
Yes.
kind of thing. But you are also Brene Brown now as well, because you have had this journey that has led you, through such a season of evolving, going from that to where you are now, and obviously continuing your growth is huge. Um, I'm curious. Well, okay, another thing, and then I'll also let's say I'll ask you my question, but another thing to your point too, because I myself am going through a season where I am in therapy now, and interestingly enough, I did not know much about a psychiatrist versus a psychologist, a therapist. So
Mhm.
I feel like you watch movies and TV shows, and like a show I'm thinking of is Mad Men, where
Mhm.
Betty goes to therapy, or I'm sorry, I think he's a psychiatrist. I'm almost positive he is. But she's laying on this, luxurious leather, couch thing, and the guy pretends he's writing notes and he's just drawing a picture and like, oh sure, but he asks her about her life and her husband and her, how she feels, and then he writes her a prescription that she probably should not be taking because we know a lot more now about medicine than we did back then. But
Yes.
my whole point is, you see this stuff in excuse me, in the movies and the shows where, to my mind, it seemed, oh, a psychiatrist is just someone in my silly brain that didn't know better. A psychiatrist seems like someone who listens to your problems maybe once a week and then writes you a little prescription and they keep checking in with you. That's what I thought. However, in my journey of finding a psychiatrist, I was quite mistaken. I guess there are people who will do both, but from what
Mhm.
I learned, it's more of a rarity.
Yes.
So that was an eye opener for me that I did not realize, and I was quite surprised.
Yeah.
So it had to be kind of cool to find someone who did both, at least in theory. I know maybe you weren't really feeling it at 25, but my question for you is, when you found that new person to talk to and you did, I'm assuming, talk therapy, that type
Mhm.
of thing,
Yes.
when did it kind of click for you that this was something you wanted to take more seriously?
Mm. I suppose it had a lot to do with Caitlin, what you were saying earlier, is I just totally connected with this person. So that's a big part, right? This is a relationship
Yeah.
that you are building with this person. So I just thought she was lovely and had great energy, and I thoroughly enjoyed, our sessions together. I guess what stood out to me was when I would talk to her about things, she would kind of question like whether Virginia, like the true Virginia, was really like, vocalizing that, or was this just a mask, you know?
Okay.
So I don't think
Okay.
I've really had anybody in my circle who like addressed it in that way to me before. So it got my
Okay.
little brain thinking and turning. And I love that. I love that for people because that's sometimes all we need is that spark, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I just remember thinking like, oh, well maybe those aren't really my true thoughts or feelings or beliefs for that matter. What who is Virginia? What does
Mm,
she really want out of life? It was those kind of questions that
yeah.
started to surface, questions I've never really asked myself before. And so I think that is one of the signs that you're working with maybe the right person.
Sure.
One, you're connecting with them. You consistently show up, for your sessions. You're being challenged in a healthy, constructive way, and maybe you're working towards something, a goal. So all great things that can happen in therapy. And so when I went to go visit my older brother and his family when they were in New Hampshire at the time to go see my niece, who was still just a baby, I went with my mom And I told my mom, I was like, I'm moving here. This is what's happening. And then I put together that whole plan to move out from Florida to New Hampshire.
Aww, that's so cool. And I think we are so used to kind of just going through the motions of life
Hmm.
that it's very rare for us to ask ourselves, am I saying or doing what is genuine? Is it a
Hmm.
genuine thing? Is this actually me? Or is this what I think this person is expecting me to say? Or maybe
Correct.
it's what I would hope I would say, so I'm just going to do this instead.
Hmm.
I think that's a very powerful thing that you were able to dive deep into, okay, what do I actually want? I haven't really thought about that before. And I think, too, that's not just a question you should ask yourself when you're 25. You should ask yourself that a lot in life.
Oh yeah, still
It,
asking to this day.
yeah,
Like it's great because that's in a way, if you think about it, that is a genuine check-in with yourself
absolutely.
that you do every so often. Like, hey girl,
Right.
how you doing? Well, you know,
Right.
instead of just being on autopilot, which
Yes.
some of us, that's a pace we're at for quite some time, right? We're doing
Mhm.
all the things that are expected of us, all the quote unquote normal things. And Caitlin and I have talked about that, looking back at it, your mental health can be a wake up call, right? Like, hey, the path you're on is not really working for you. So I was trying to send you that message before, and you weren't really listening. So I kind of have to cause some discomfort for you to really pay attention. Our bodies are so smart. So when our bodies and our mind, body, spirit, it's all connecting, right? Beautiful things can happen. But of course, at that time when you're going through it, especially the first time, it certainly doesn't feel that way.
Yeah.
Um, and so whether it's, as I was saying, like if you really feel like you're at a critical state with your mental health, please, please do not deny yourself of the help that you are so deserving of and worthy of. And just know that it can be um, a process, from there. It can just be one step at a time.
And I would add to that too, maybe you're someone who has just kind of coasted through life and not
Mhm.
realized it, or maybe you are coasting and you're in that now, but I feel like a lot of people kind of have a moment or a day or whatever where they just kind of something hits them and they're like, what the hell? What is
Mhm.
this feeling? There's this tightness in my chest. I'm anxious, I'm this, I don't understand, and obviously it can be a number of things, but I definitely think that especially if you've been on autopilot for a long time, I I think of people who are having these feelings that rush over them all of a sudden. And
Mhm.
I see that as you're waking up from something. And it's
Yes.
it's obviously a very awful feeling in the moment, but at the
Mhm.
same time it can eventually be a very beautiful thing that you look back on and you're like, wow, my body was fighting for me even when consciously I didn't know to fight for myself. And that's a super
Mhm.
powerful thing.
That is so powerful, and I'm so glad you brought that up because I mentioned, while I was in therapy, I was, crafting this plan to move out of state, and yes, that was for my mental health. But as I also talked about in our episode, moving out of state, I mentioned about like, my problems still came with me. So it's great to have goals, absolutely, and work towards something, but like moving to a different place was just the start. It was everything else that I had to address for the first time, really, like ever. So yes, it's great to have goals. It's great to have an action plan, but that inner work has to also be paired with those goals as well. That's a very important piece to the process, in my opinion. Um, because it's so easy to keep chasing, even supposedly like the good things for yourself in an external sense. But if your internal is always at conflict, and it's not really at peace, that can actually have a negative impact on the good things that you have in your external life. So your inner world shapes those external relationships and external things for sure.
It's funny you kind of say that too, because I don't know, maybe a month ago or so, I had said to my therapist, I'm trying to focus more on me and do more Caitlin things and think about what do I like and whatever. And I said, but my thing is, and she didn't really have an answer. I guess it's kind of a case by case
Mm-hmm.
scenario. I was going to
Scenario.
say
What a great
scenario,
word.
situation, scenario. I said, my thing is, how do I know when I'm doing stuff for me and having a good day or moment or, being happy versus running away and distracting myself from something
Mm-hmm.
bigger and deeper?
That's a
And
great
she was
question.
kind of like, well, that's
Oh.
that's a new one. And I said, because I said to her, my often my biggest enemy when it comes to just self-help, mental health stuff is I will think, and then I'll think about thinking, and I'll think about, am I thinking what I'm thinking correctly? And where is this coming from? And is like, and so I will make it like a million layers deeper than it needs to be kind of thing. And she's like, just one day at a time, Caitlin. But but it is, it is kind of a case by case situation, I think is the main takeaway. But it's all about balance, in my opinion, at the
Mm-hmm.
same time. Like, you can't run away from your problems. We all know this. You can try, but they're going to find you. Granted, we did say in that episode of ours too that, often a new environment can make a huge difference.
Yes.
And that is very true. But if you do
Yeah.
have something that's deeply rooted in you that's unhealed, it will come up. It might come up
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow. It might come up 20 years from now. You never know. And when it does come up, it can come up at the most random of times. I won't get into super specific, but I remember a very real moment I had. This was about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. I was with a person. We're not going to name names. Again, we're not going to get too specific here, so this is going to be probably very boring, but I'll try to make it slightly interesting. I was with a person, and I was upset over something small-ish, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this stuff from my dad just like came at me. It was like I had opened these floodgates. I
Mm-hmm.
keep I keep referencing water tonight, like pipes bursting, this and that, but it's true. It felt like the floodgates had opened, and all of a sudden, for whatever reason, I had allowed myself to feel a pain that I really had not tapped into, or just maybe consciously I didn't even know it was there. It just kind of hit me, and I remember being on the couch and I'm sobbing, and this person is like, I don't know what to do for you, and understandably so, because it was a minor thing that we had been talking about, and here I am, and I'm like, you don't understand, and I was like kind of a wreck. Um, and I say that not to have a pity party for myself, but to just, get back to my point of this unhealed stuff. It is very real. You might think, oh
Mm-hmm.
no, like I don't even think about that anymore. That was me until that time. I remember, trying to tell people for years, like, oh, like it doesn't bother me, like that stuff with my dad and this and that, and whatever, and obviously I've come out of it on the other side, thanks to people like Virginia, and therapists, of course, too, who I've worked with, who've helped me, kind of revisit a lot of those things and think back to that inner child in me and things that she didn't get when she was little and all this stuff. And I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, you can just blame all your problems on your parents. Like, that's not me, and I think that's weak and dumb and silly. But I will say that obviously the core of our foundation comes from our upbringing. Whether we are who we are because of it, or we are who we are because we did not want to be that way. What we saw from parents and other loved ones, I think there's a number of ways that it is a part of who we are. So yeah,
Oh,
lot to unpack there, but it's true, guys. Like
yeah.
this stuff can hit, and it's not just parent related. It can be hundreds of other things. So
Hmm.
it's very important, not just in the month of May. It's important all year round not
Hmm.
to not run from that stuff. And I
Yes.
realize there's going to be times when you're like, I'm taking on as much as I can in my life right now. I
Hmm.
can't even tap that. I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. I understand.
Yeah.
But at some point you have to prioritize it for sure.
Hmm. Yes. Well, I do love the question though that you had for your therapist, because it had me thinking, like, exactly that. That's probably why people sometimes even don't want to go to therapy, because they know they have to eventually talk about these things, and it can be really heavy things. And things like Caitlin, you were saying that you could have sworn you closed the door on, and it's not a problem, and sometimes um, we'll still blame ourselves, right, for having those thoughts and having those feelings. And the last thing we're gonna do is talk to somebody about that, right? But going back to like how important it is that, well, this is an investment, right, in your health, in your overall well-being. So it absolutely should be with somebody that you trust, that you can open up to, but they're also going to challenge you and provide tools and resources, as well. But it's not a race, to get to this normal mental state. It's like, what is normal? Like, this is your life. This is your life. So there are seasons where you could use the extra help. I like Caitlin, you were saying, some of it can be so heavy that, there are times we might need a band-aid, that we may need a little floaty, just to get us through. And that's okay. That's okay. There's a lot of life to live, and it needs to be balanced out. It's not always about talking about mental health related things and heavy things and overthinking, everything. Sometimes it is just taking a break from that too and enjoying the sunshine, allowing yourself to feel the warmth on your skin, laugh with a friend, have coffee. That's very much part of mental health as well. And that is what we'll transition into next here in our episode today is we're talking about the clinical side of mental health. There's also the holistic side to mental health. So let's talk about some of that. Um, yeah, therapy, diagnosis, and medication can all be valuable building blocks for mental health from a clinical standpoint. I have learned in the 10 years of managing my mental health, that can be effectively paired with positive, healthy lifestyle changes. So you probably already thinking of what they are, but it is going back to the basics. It's going back to what humans crave the most, and that is sleep, proper quality sleep, nutrition, real food. Food is medicine, food is fuel, exercise, and it can be as simple as a walk, a daily walk, some kind of physical movement. Caitlin and I talk about that one quite a bit on Talking Blondes. Nature. being out in nature. You don't have to be like me where you talk to trees and that's okay. I totally understand. Totally understand. But there is something to be said when you are up against something so much bigger than you that's been around way longer and will be here way after you. And to be in that presence, which is a masterpiece from God. So nature can be so amazing, especially from a spiritual standpoint. Stress management, how we manage stress on our day to day, our emotional reactions to things, hormonal support. Speaking for women and their health, we go through hormonal shifts. We go through one every month. We also go through different cycles in our adult life. It never ends. So imagine talking to a female healthcare provider who actually builds more of a holistic plan for you to support you, along with maybe that necessary band-aid, instead of just being slapped with a, well, here's an antidepressant, and good luck to you. Because that's what the women before us had to go through. Our mothers, our grandmothers, when they were going through these very much normal hormonal shifts as well, and unexplained anxiety, depression, not feeling comfortable in their own skin, libido is low, and they go to their doctor, who were more than likely was a male, and they got to be told, like, sounds like you're depressed and anxious. Here you go. Very surface level, does not get to the root. We have made tremendous strides in women's health care. We continue to do so. And I'm very happy to say that we're going to have future guests on here who are going to talk more about that in detail. So stay tuned for that. But also as well, healthy relationships. Healthy, loving relationships and community with our friends, with our partners, our spouses. It is so, so key. Social human connection. I'm sorry, guys, we're human. We thrive off of human connection. Just as long as that it's healthy and it's loving, and it's uplifting. Hobbies. Hobbies. So I'm very excited for a guest who will be coming on here soon. When you have a hobby and it's a creative outlet, that is huge for our mental health. That's why we have artists. That's why I was able to recite to you those beautiful, profound lyrics at the beginning of this episode. It's because of art. It's because of creativity. We're also designed for that too. When I was a peer support counselor, every patient I had some kind of creative outlet, whether it's coloring, drawing, playing music, knitting, crocheting. Like, it, looking back at it, it made so much sense why they, prioritize that, because that was a big part of their mental health and managing it. Another one is faith, religion, spirituality. I will leave it just like that. So whatever you feel called to, or you feel like you want to belong, but sense of belonging, right, is huge for us humans as well. And hopefully it's in an environment that is healthy, and loving and supportive. And tools and resources. So journaling is one of them. I first starting out my mental health journey, I would write through so many notebooks. It was crazy. I had so much to write down. I don't do it as much, but that was a very valuable tool for me at the beginning. There's other things like Caitlin and I have talked about already on the episode, inner child healing. So I'm hoping to also maybe have guests on for that topic as well, and open up more about inner child healing. Shadow work. Shadow work is another tool that is used in mental health as well, and reprogramming the subconscious. So interrupting thought patterns and reframing. You probably have heard quite a bit, Caitlin and I, talking about the power of reframe. It's highly effective. So yeah, that is from the holistic and well-being aspect of mental health. Caitlin, do you feel like any of these lifestyle changes have made a difference in your life and has had a positive impact on your mental health?
Yeah, I mean, I love to write in general. I know that's kind of my outlet as far as just creatively, but it's weird when I'm feeling anxiety or just really low in some shape or another, writing comes very easily. And it's funny because I'm like, why can't I have when I'm happy? Because I want to write all kinds of cool stuff when I'm happy. And I don't want it to be that only because I'm like in a funk that I'm writing this cool poem or something, you know. But such is life of a
Such
tortured
is
artist,
life.
of the tortured artist. You know,
Tortured soul, tortured poet department, or whatever that was called.
tortured pots department or something. Yeah, tortured poets department. But no, to your point, when we were starting our, journey together with your life coaching me, I kept a journal and I wrote all kinds of things down and everything that I still look back on. And I, have used it for other experiences like with therapists as well. And it's interesting. It's kind of cool, similar to the playlist that I have of different years of my life. Anytime you keep some kind of journal or diary, obviously, it's cool to see, wow, that day in how many years ago, I thought the world was going to end and I was, beside myself and this and that. And it's amazing. It's such a beautiful reminder that life is continuously evolving. And to your point of being outside, I am not the most outdoorsy girl, but I do love going out on walks and, hot girl walks, as I think people call them these days, but, or I like to call them. But yeah, I just know, especially this time of year, being that it's spring, it's so beautiful to be out there and you hear the birds chirping. And I remember just several weeks ago, I was kind of feeling down, and my mom said to me, listen. And I'm like, what? And she's like, the birds. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, they're just a reminder that new things are coming, that new life, that beauty is always around the corner. And I was like, that's pretty powerful. And I've just kind of held on to that. So I'm typically a girl that wears headphones when I go out on my walks, but I'll play my music just a little bit softer so I can hear the chirping because it means more now. And yeah, I mean, there's so many other things like eating healthier. I very much believe that food is medicine. Granted, I am definitely not the candidate for the best, healthiest eater in the world ever, but it is so true. The days that I'm thinking more and being more conscientious about what I'm putting into my body versus just, oh yeah, I'll have that burger and whatever. You see the difference. And sleep, girl, my gosh. I wish I could go back in time to like 4 and 5 year old Caitlin who hated nap time in preschool, kindergarten, whatever. I would go. You talk about wanting to slap 2025 or not 25-year-old Virginia. I would show that girl. Listen, you put your head on that pillow and you like it. You close your eyes and you like it. Because you're going to be a time when you're going to wish you had that pillow and that blanket, but you're going to have to hop on a call and act like, you don't wish you had more coffee right now and this
Yes.
and that. So,
Oh
yes,
my
the
gosh.
power of sleep is honestly, I know some people who can go on like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and God bless them. I'm like, and granted, God willing, when I'm a mom one day, like that's probably gonna have to be me sometime. So I'm not saying like, oh, I could never. But listen, sleep is so underrated. It is like I love sleep now more than I think I've ever like the appreciation I have for it is just I don't even know. Like I can't explain it.
Yeah. No, it is like I mean, there's, you know, everything, that we just listed, right, plays a role in our overall well-being. I just think sleep is like the foundation
Oh
of everything
yeah.
else. You get your energy from sleep. So if you are sleeping well, you are going to eat the foods that are healthier for you, versus the quick sugar or carbs that you need because you are lacking in energy.
Hmm.
When you are sleeping, your whole system gets to reset. So
Yeah.
your cognitive function is sharper, and you're more, and you have a higher emotional resiliency. This is what your proper quality sleep can do for you. So I don't think it was ever meant to be normalized to get 4 or 5 hours of sleep every night. I think that turned into a flex to glorify the grind and hustle culture that we have here in the States. But I also know that sometimes we go through a season. You could have a newborn baby, and your sleep is shit. So as a new time mom or a mom who's got several other kids and sleep is just not, a priority, it is, I know it can be temporary and I know it can be just for a season. You could also be sick or in a lot of pain and it's disturbing your sleep, so you can't get quality sleep anymore. These are just all things that, I hope that you just don't accept or well, that's it. That's just how it's going to be for the rest of my life. It's like, I hope that it's worth looking into with a specialist, because I don't know who I would be without my sleep. I really don't know. So yeah, that's one of the big ones. But I think nutrition though is up there. I feel like that's a big part of why I'm not on any of those medications I used to be on. Was because of me really not just eating the food, but educating myself on nutrition. So sometimes our anxiety or depression can be linked to nutrient deficiencies, and mineral and vitamin deficiencies, which is
Hmm.
really interesting. So not to say that you are eating healthier, but you still need, to be on medication. That's not what I'm saying. Because again, sometimes we just still need that extra help, right? And that band-aid. I'm still on a sleep medication to this day, and I probably will be on it for the rest of my life because unfortunately nothing makes a dent for my sleep. That's the only thing that can put me out. So there is no shame with having these band-aids, these floaties, when you are also prioritizing everything else is
Hmm.
really the main takeaway from this. We are, oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I'm so glad you said that. My heart, I feel that in my heart because I know a lot of people listening are probably thinking, okay, but if I go on something, I don't want to be on it for too long, like maybe just a month or maybe just this or just that. And, obviously it's different for each person, but there is absolutely no shame in taking something that is prescribed. Um, and please don't ever just go off at cold turkey. Please.
I can be,
Without the assistance of a therapist, doctor, psychiatrist, someone. But I always think of, people saying, well, I don't want the medicine, to control me. I want the power. I want the autonomy. And that's all well and good. And I respect that 100%. I just want you to think of it in a way where it's not a crutch. It's not a, oh, I can't do this alone, so I need this and I'm lesser than others and this and that. Think of someone who's diabetic who has to take their insulin. You would never shame someone who's having some sugar, malfunction with their body needing to take their insulin. You would not shame that person for that, or I hope you wouldn't. If you would, you got to do some soul searching there, because that's not kind. I genuinely believe that there is no shame, and if you want to go off of a medication one day, that is great too. Um, just do it responsibly,
Mhm.
please. But yeah, to your point, Virginia, I have a family member who has a lot of health issues, and they're gonna be on medication probably for the rest of their life, and that's, to me, in my brain, that's always been a very normal thing because health issues kind of run in my family.
Mhm.
So it was kind of a wake up call for me when I got into, the world of depression and started taking something. And then I would talk to people and they'd be like, yeah, but I'm off it now. I just, it was just a little while. Now I'm off of it. And I remember thinking, okay, but you're fine either way. Like I'm not knocking you if that kind of thing. And so I just want the narrative in society to be more of, it's okay to be on it responsibly. It's okay to wean yourself off of it responsibly. And it's okay to not be on it if you don't need it anymore and you've
Mhm.
gotten off of it as well. Or maybe you just come to some agreement with your therapist or whoever it might be, someone who is doing more holistic route with you, and there
Mhm.
are some more holistic ways that are really resonating with you. That's beautiful too. So,
Yes.
anyways, I just wanted to get that out there, and I'm so glad you said that because there's no right or wrong as long as you're doing it with the guidance that is appropriate of someone who is educated and knows what they're talking about and they're, walking you through
Yes. Very well said. Thank you.
it.
Yeah, and so I'm just gonna kind of wrap it up here. I want to leave with something. I mean, I'm for the most part. I hope this episode was hopeful. Because that's a big part of why Caitlin and I, do this is to be able to navigate these complex, topics and shed some light and love and healing on it. Um, but it's always nice to know that there are resources out there that are available to you. So I'm going to share one of them in particular. But I'll start with this. If you are open to the idea of working one on one with a therapist, a mental health professional, a life coach like myself, so I am a women's holistic life coach. I help women just kind of reconnect, with themselves from holistic um, perspective when it comes to your overall well-being. And all that can be very helpful and impactful. But if you feel like you can't afford that financially, or you can't fully commit, because the commitment part is really important, you have to fully open and show up for any kind of care with mental health. Um, that I don't want you to feel hopeless and that you can't do anything about your mental health, because you sure can. There are resources out there like mental health related podcasts, books, workbooks, workshops. They are all available and are out there for us. So one particular is I've mentioned on the podcast a life coach I personally worked with. Her name is Gloria Zhang. She is also a psychotherapist who now runs a nonprofit organization. So she and her team offer free workshops. You guys, I cannot emphasize enough how, one, this woman is absolutely incredible. And I've used her work in my life coaching. Caitlin can attest to that. But she has her own podcast as well. It's the Inner Child Healing Podcast, but I don't think I got the name totally right, but I can link all this in the show notes. But the fact that she is running this nonprofit and these workshops for free is incredible. So if you're just starting out, and again, you can't quite invest in a one-on-one, but you're okay with maybe being a part of groups, community, and this goes back to what we were saying earlier about the importance of healthy relationships and loving communities, this might be a start. So I will link that in the show notes on how you can even join her healing community. But guys, there is so much more out there like that. I can just personally speak on this because I know her well and what she's doing. But yeah, I really hope this episode was, again, hopeful and helpful and maybe resonated with you, whether you're at the very beginning stages of your mental health or like Caitlin was saying, you've made such progress and strides, but now you're at a crossroads, and you don't know what that next step may be. We just hope that we were able to bring some insights, as well as just, our love too, as two women who live it, learning from it, growing and healing. So
Yeah, absolutely. We're so grateful that you could be here with us. And mental health is a never-ending thing. So if you're not comfortable with it, that's okay. But I challenge you to lean into that and try to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because it's gonna throw you some curveballs. But the more you work on it, the more you think about it, the better it's gonna feel. And the more, I don't know, the easier being vulnerable with yourself and with others, and maybe with a therapist if that does feel like the right route for you, or a psychiatrist, the easier that will get over time. So don't beat yourself up. Be kind to yourself. Practice grace. That is the thing you have to start with. You can't get anywhere unless you're not beating yourself up over this, because it is challenging. And that's okay. There's so much to this. There's so much more we could talk about. But Virginia, thank you so much for bringing this very timely topic in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, and just, helping us highlight so many of the very real parts to it that I think need to be talked about more. We're so glad we could share our journeys with you both. We hope that it resonated. We hope that it, hit in some way. Maybe you identified with something. Maybe there's something that we didn't even cover, and you're like, well, doing this actually really helped me, let us know. Reach out to us. You can follow us on Instagram if you're not already following us, and shoot us a message at Talking Blondes Pod, or on YouTube at Talking Blondes. And you can also find us pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts. We are out there waiting to connect with you. If this hit home, or if this is just something that, you think, wow, so-and-so would really appreciate this, do us a favor and share. That would be awesome. We are always looking to grow our community and have more people join the conversation with us. So definitely share, give us a like. Anything you do like that helps us get discovered by more people, and that is why we're here. We want to continue having these awesome conversations with you all, and just growing along with you guys. So thank you so much. And yeah, at the end of the day, be kind to yourself, be kind to others.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to today's episode, and we will see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.